Good evening. Tonight is the Board of Health meeting for Monday, October 5th, 2020. As a preliminary matter, this is Brian Croto, Board of Health Chairman. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Keith Kent.
Here.
Ed Bond.
Yeah.
Garrett Want.
Here.
Lionel Cloutier.
Here.
And Brian Croto. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. James Abear.
Here.
And I don't think Deb's here, correct?
She said she might not be able to make it, but she can go from the recording.
Okay. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. John DeLine.
Aye.
Good evening. This is open meeting of the Board of Health being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's recent executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order to suspend the requirements of open meeting law to have all meetings in public accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public body are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This order, which you can find posted within agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that public can along with the deliberation of the meeting. Ensuing public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Board of Health is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's website, identified how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care of not to share screen your computer. Anything that is broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. This public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of each member, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motion. Please hold until your name is called further. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and you state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colleague with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will be the first asked member of the public who wishes to speak to identify the name and address. Once the chair has listed of all public commentators, I will call on each by name to afford 3 minutes for any comment. Finally, each vote taken in the meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is the meeting minutes, which were from July 6, 2020, present, were Lionel Cloutier, Brian Croto, Garrett Want. Absent was Keith Kent and Ed Bond. Looking for a motion for approval.
Make a motion for approval of the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Lionel,
Aye.
Garrett?
Aye.
I take it you two are going to abstain, Keith and Ed?
Yes. Yes, abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda is food permits. How do you want it? What we've typically been doing with the food permits is we've allowed the health agent to sign the food permits for us, so we don't have to try to make a time to get over to Jim to do it. Anybody have any issues with us continuing that for this go around right here?
No, I don't have no problem with it.
Jim, do we need to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, you might as well take a vote on it just to be certain.
You guys good with what I just said as the motion?
Read it one more time, Brian. It was for Jim to be able to sign all the,
Yep, so for the health agent to be able to sign the food permits and any bills that are due this month, we will be going over the bills, but Jim has been signing them in the past. We'd given him the right to do that.
okay.
Yeah, sounds good, Brian.
Do I have a second?
You have a second?
Seconded by Lionel. So
Roll call vote.
roll call vote. Lionel,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to continue to read them off, Keith, or how do you want to do this?
Well, I can't really see them unless I go back to my email.
Jim put it on the screen. Did you see that?
Yes, I see the first one. So you want me to read them, Mr. Chair, as they come up?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. I just wanted to know what you were looking for since this is kind of new to us, my friend.
Right,
Okay,
I'm hoping
first-
this is the last time we have to do this.
Understood.
I don't believe there was any issues on any of them, correct, Jim?
Correct.
Well, that's positive, as long as there was no corrections that needed to be made.
Right, and then just so you're aware, Keith, there's two of them that the fees are waived.
Sure.
It's going to be the Winchendon CAC and the United Parish. If you want
Yep,
to just put that in
it's
your
definitely
comments.
past practice to make a motion to waive those fees.
Yep, so if you want to include that when you read it, that'd be great.
Sure. Okay,
Thank you.
first permit we have, permit number 2032. Permit to operate a food establishment in DHP Corp. doing business as Mike Mini Mart, and the fee of $100 has been paid.
Do we want to do this one by one, or do we want to do it individually, Jim?
You could do it as a group, except I would recommend that you abstain from CAC.
Yep, I was already planning on that.
And if any other member has a conflict, abstain from that as well.
All right, so I guess we'll read it through and then pass it as a group, I guess 2 groups.
Okay.
One for the ones that are paying and then 2 for the other 2. So,
Okay. So next we have permit number 2033. Permit to operate a food establishment, Camelot Farms, 50 Old Center Road, Winchington. Fee of $100 paid. Next, we have permit number 2034. Permit to operate a food establishment. Dunkin' Donuts, 5 Central Street, Winchington. The fee of $100 has been paid. Next, permit number 2030. Family Dollar. Permit to operate a food establishment, 49 Central Street, Winchington. Again, fee of $100 has been paid. Additionally, we have permit number 2035. Permit to operate a food establishment, Winchington Community Action Center, 273 Central Street. And on this one, we would like to need a motion made to waive the fee traditionally as we do for nonprofits. Up next, permit number 2036. Permit to operate a food establishment, Harbor Restaurant, 455 Maple Street, Winchington. The fee has been paid. Additionally, we have permit number 2037. Permit to operate a food establishment, Cumberland Farms, 32 Central Street, Winchington, Mass. The fee of $100 has been paid. And I would like it known, Mr. Chair, when you do sign for these, that on this particular permit, I do abstain. Permit number 2038. Permit to operate a food establishment, SKRAJ Inc., doing business as Williams Package Store at 50 Spring Street, Winchington, Mass. The fee of $100 has been paid. Next, we have permit number 2039, permit to operate a food establishment, United Parish of Winchington, located at 39 Front Street, Winchington, Mass. And this, again, as a nonprofit or not-for-profit, is traditional to make a motion to waive the fee. Next, we have permit number 2040, permit to operate a food establishment, the Glen Cafe, located at 63 Glen Allen Street, Winchington, Mass. Fee of $100 has been paid. And that would apparently conclude our permit applications as have been reviewed. So, Mr. Chair, the question would be, do we need to make individual motions for the two being United Parish and the WCAC?
You can combine the two, or actually make them separate, because I know myself and Karen have a conflict on the CAC, so if we could make the two, the CAC and the parish separate, and then the other ones we can combine.
I'm sorry, who did you say had a conflict besides yourself?
Garrett want.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you. It cut out for a second on my end.
Okay.
Could I make a motion for the both to be approved as a a waiver of fees for nonprofit?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ed. Roll call vote. Lionel?
Yes.
Garrett?
I'll abstain from the CAC, but approve the parish.
Keith?
I approve waiving the fee for both as past practice in our town.
Ed?
Yes.
The chair will abstain. The chair will abstain from the CAC and approves the United Parish. Next up on the agenda is invoices. We have an invoice from Massachusetts Associated Health Boards. Membership for Jim, it's $100. We saved a little bit of money on it. Typically, it's a little bit more, but everything's done by Zoom right now, so we're able to save a couple bucks. Can I get
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second. Roll call vote. Lionel,
yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes, sir.
and Ed.
Yes.
Okay, motion, and the chair votes yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up on the agenda is the Title V variance for request for 26 Sunny Cove Road. John, you want to explain what you're looking for?
Yes, good evening. This is John DeLine from DeLine Engineering, representing the owner of the property, Todd Famous. The address is 26 Sunny Cove Road. This is an existing 3-bedroom dwelling that the owner purchased back in August, knowing that they had to upgrade the sewage disposal system and also install a new well. The existing system failed the Title V inspection, so there actually was no official well for the property. It's believed that the water supply, which may have been from the lake, so there was a shallow well, but doesn't seem to have been connected to the house. So we need to install a new well in addition to upgrade the system. So the property's kind of oddly shaped at the end of Sunny Cove. Kind of the house itself juts out onto a peninsula type thing. It's pretty small. And actually beyond the house toward the water, there is a little bit of land, but on each side of the house, there's only a small walkway, probably 4 or 5 feet wide, not enough to get any equipment by or anything like that. So the area that we are limited to work in then is between the existing dwelling and Sunny Cove Road. Because it is basically surrounded by water, there's a limited area to install the leaching facility. And there's also some steep grades that have to be dealt with as far as that's concerned. We can't quite meet the 50-foot setback to the resource area with the leaching area without having to cut down a large number of trees and clear a large area to meet the grading that would be required by Title V. So I'm requesting in that respect a 50-foot to 40-foot reduction in the setback of the leaching area to the resource area, the lake and the wetland edge. Like I said, like to the west of that system, the slope drops off dramatically, and even the way it is now requires a barrier to meet the breakout requirements and grading requirements required by Title V. We also have some other wells in the area too that we have to be aware of and stay back from too for the leaching area. Where the well is going is down near the house. There really isn't any other location where we can get 100 feet away from the proposed system or the systems on any other property. Having said that, we also need to install a septic tank and a pump chamber down at the house in order to get the sewage effluent up to where the leaching area is. And we cannot meet the 50-foot setback between the septic tank and the pump chamber and the well within the area that we have. So I'm looking for a reduction there from 50 feet down to 25 feet. Fortunately, they'll both be monolithic tanks, sealed real well, and the well will be a new drilled well that is sealed down the bedrock. So that should afford protection, given that everything's new and state of the art per se, as far as containment and limiting any sewage that could get out of the tanks to the greatest extent possible. The septic tank and the pump chamber, in the interest of trying to maximize the distance to the well, we can't quite get 25 feet from the resource area. So I'm looking for a reduction there from 25 feet down to 50 feet. I mean, from down to 15 feet, 25 down to 15 feet. Again, that's just to maximize what I can get to the well between the septic tank and the pump chamber. The whole area there is gravel. I've had testing on other lots in that general area, and it's all been beautiful material, but unfortunately the lots are just very small or oddly shaped like this one is. So that is the greatest limitation. We did one test hole. There wasn't a need to do other because that's what the material is out there. The good thing about the leaching area is that the bottom of the leach field, where the stone is about 10 feet above the lake level. So even though we're encroaching upon the lake a little bit, we actually have a much greater separation, about double what Title V requires. So I'm confident that, you know, the leaching area, even though it is a little closer than the lake than we'd like to see, that it has the equivalent protection of it because of that separation. So, you know, the sewage as it filters down through the soil will actually go through 10 feet of soil before hitting the water table versus 4 or 5 feet, which you typically see a system constructed over the water table. That's basically what I'm looking for. There's a number of things, but like I said, it's just the oddly shaped lot and the locations of the resources around the whole thing basically pushed us into this corner per se. And we're not looking for any setbacks that affect abutting property owners. It's all within the subject property. And if there's any questions, I can answer those now.
Jim?
Yes.
What's your feeling on this request?
Well, as with most lots on the lake, it's small, and this one is more unusual shaped than most. It appears to be the best solution to an existing situation. It will be an improvement, obviously, over what has been there in the past, in the years past. With the topography and the distance to water and other properties, it looks like this is really the only spot you could reasonably put something without infringing on other properties and wells and their radiuses.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is an existing house and a repair, the rules are a lot different than new construction.
That is correct. In a repair situation, you're allowed to consider these variances.
And what Mr. DeLine's asking is not too far out of the ordinary for us to approve?
Correct. It's especially with these lots on the lake. They're all built on very tight lots, and you have the water body right there that you want to have protected. So this does look like that plan would afford much more protection than has been currently at this address.
Have you ever seen anybody use the barrier around the septic tanks as a preventative when the wells is close, or has that not been done? I've never done it personally, so.
No, usually they would go with the monolithic tanks, which looks like this plan calls for.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I have a, go ahead,
Okay.
Keith.
No,
Sorry.
please, you go first, sir.
I wanted to ask the question, we've never gone from 25 to 15 feet on a variance for anything with a septic tank or a tight tank, have we before?
For septic tanks, we have gone closer to that for like foundations and that type of thing. Usually what we were looking at for variances would come from the soil absorption system.
Okay, but this is acceptable.
This, yeah, this tank, this monolithic tank is a one-piece tank. A lot of septic systems come in two pieces and they're cemented together, whereas this is one molded unit. As long as they are properly sealed once the pipes are installed, it should be completely watertight.
Okay. that answers my question.
Can we request a water test if this is approved on the tanks before they're put in service? Just like you.
We will be getting water quality reporting since it's a new well anyway.
Okay.
How long, excuse me, how long of a period will we be getting water quality in that area on the wells?
Well, once they install the new well, we always have the water tested and get a well driller's report.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
but that's just when the well's installed, correct?
Correct.
is that
So, but
1 year?
I think what Lionel's trying to say is we want to do like we do on some of the other ones and do a 3-year. Correct, Lionel?
Right, correct.
All right, we have some other questions.
What did you have, Keith?
First question is, so is this involving the impermeable barrier as we have discussed in other plans before? Due to the well proximity, the septic, other related properties, is there a permeable barrier in this? Impermeable?
Yeah, if you see the blue line, you have your drawing open.
1 second, sir. And yeah, I see the blue line.
So they're calling for a 40 mil barrier on the upper side. Would it be wise of us to ask that the barrier goes all the way around, or is that too much, you think, Jim?
You could ask the engineer on that one. It does look like there's plenty of room on the lower end before the terrain drops off, but we can have John answer that one.
What do you have, John?
We could do that. We could do that, but I mean, the sewage effluent is basically going to go straight down. I mean, I don't think there's any real advantage to that.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, the next question would be, he had discussed, our good man, Mr. Deline, had discussed this plan would be without being necessary to cut down many other trees on the site. I understand people like their trees for privacy protection, natural look and everything else, but would cutting down some of these trees, in Mr. Deline's opinion, would this allow the well, the septic, and all the other properties to have a better or more, shall we say, safer or less contentious situation design-wise?
The only thing that it would change is that the leaching area or the leach field would be able to be 50 feet from the resource area, but all the well and the pump location tanks, none of that would change. I mean, basically that's all that we have there. And then we'd also be I'd be encroaching more closely upon the well serving 15 Sunny Cove, which I don't think is a positive thing, given it's a shallow well.
So cutting down more trees would put you closer to that well you just referred to.
Right, and it would basically, you know, those trees, they act as a buffer to the lake, but also to pull up other things too, and, you know, to cut down. I mean, it's a dramatic difference. I did the grading with pushing it over, and it was amazing how much more, you know, disturbance of soils and so forth occurred. And then we get closer to that other well, which is, like I said, a shallow well, not a drilled well, at number 15 Sunny Cove, which I always like to keep as far away from those as possible versus a drilled well.
So, Jimmy, does this involve us going below that previous past practice of 50 feet? I just want to make sure I heard all this correctly.
The well itself is 100 feet from the leaching area. So
Okay.
we're actually achieving what's required by Title V, you know, and without issue. It's that 50 foot, the well is supposed to be 50 feet from the septic tank and pump chamber. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be 100, it's 50 feet, and I'm going down to 25. The plus to this is that well will be sealed down. It should be sealed down to bedrock with bentonite. So there shouldn't be any interaction with the upper waters per se and the well itself. It should be pulling its water from, you know, down deep. The septic tank itself and the pump chamber, you know, if it does leak, it's going to, you know, worst case scenario, it's going to go down and hit the lake water and basically be carried away. But as Jim said, with those monolithic tanks, there's only one seam, which is the top, the whole sides. I mean, they're much more rugged. I specified H20, which is the real heavy duty ones.
Okay.
So I mean, you can actually drive over them with an oil truck or something like that, or a septic truck or a utility truck, and they're built to withstand that. So we're going, way above there just to make sure that we do have good integrity with the tanks.
So based on all these proposals, and thank you again, Mr. DeLine, for your explanations. Jimmy, based on trying to make the best of the situation, the other variables, James, that he just talked about, I mean, in your approval, is this something that is legal where there wouldn't be any recourse from any abutters who may have a problem with this? I mean, I'm guessing they were notified about this hearing tonight, correct?
This is within the board's purview to grant these variances. And
Based on all the variables.
correct.
Okay.
And we're actually, if I could speak, we're not seeking any variances to any of the neighbors' properties. I made sure that what we designed took into what I designed took into consideration even what might happen to 1570 Cone down the road, because they do not have a new system. And, we, beyond just making sure we had no impacts now, I also wanted to make sure that we had, enough room for them to install a new system if needed. So, I try to do that with properties, not just look at, the only thing that the owner has, but also looking at adjacent properties and what could happen down the road. So, but I didn't notify any abutters because, with Title V, unless it's a variance, a setback reduction to their well or to their property line or something like that, you don't have to notify them. Since it's all the variances are within the subject property and not encroaching upon anything of the neighbor's properties, that wasn't needed, the notification.
Thank you, Mr. DeLine. So James, my last and final question would be, is this something that needed any kind of approval from conservation based in proximity to the lake? I'm just curious.
Yeah, whenever you're around the lake, conservation's probably going to want to take a look at it. I don't know, John, where are you in that process with them?
They're supposed to have the hearing Thursday night, but there's little difficulties with advertising and so forth. It's been sent to DEP for their review. I'm addressing a couple of comments. One of the comments was, about whether we could get the leaching area 50 feet away from everything rather than 40 feet. And I've responded to that. I haven't heard a counter response, so I'm working through that. And the other comment from Mass DEP was that we weren't increasing flows going from, say, 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms or from 2 to 3 bedrooms. And we're not doing that. It was an existing 3-bedroom dwelling, and we're designing a system for 3 bedrooms. We're not increasing any flows, which would require full compliance with Title V. So, but it's going through like a detailed review there as well. And I only had a couple of those comments, which I just received this afternoon, actually. So, like I said, I did respond to them. I'm just waiting to hear back from them on that. But it is going through that whole process. And the abutters for that conservation meeting, because it was a notice of intent, have been notified of that hearing. So, like I said, they weren't notified of this meeting because it wasn't necessary, since we weren't encroaching upon any of their wells or property lines or anything. But with the Wetlands Protection Act, you do have to notify the abutters when you file a notice of intent, as we did here, and they will have an opportunity to, review the plan, look at that, and also offer any comment at that hearing, which is scheduled for Thursday night at 6, but I'm still waiting for Allison to confirm that that will be the case.
Any other comments?
No,
I'd like that, I think that I think we should wait till and see what conservation says before, or amend it that depending on conservation, if they don't approve it, we can't approve it.
If we approve it, Ed, and they don't approve it, they can't move forward with it.
Right. That's correct.
So if we say, yeah, go ahead, but it falls on 5 different rule changes for conservation, then it gets voted down. Does that make sense?
So what you're saying is we would make a motion to approve pending approval from conservation? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Chair?
Correct, because if conservation doesn't pass it, then it's dead in the water, and Mr. DeLine has to go and try to figure something else out.
right.
Okay.
So basically, it's very typical to go to the Board of Health first, and then to go to conservation second. because conservation's the tougher of the two to get some of the rules passed. There's nothing on here that really jumps out by them upgrading those 2 septic tanks to monolithic tanks, ambient H20. That's a step in the right direction for us.
Right, well, I just want to make this comment that as the Board of Health, the conservation have always come to the Board of Health first to be approved. Then it goes to them and they look at it. If they don't like it, like you say, they will not allow it to happen.
Right. So that's why it's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, Lionel, it's kind of like a fail-safe because it comes to us and then it goes to them, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the Conservation Commission's approval, we can't go forward with it. So I mean, I'm gonna work, I just forwarded the comments to Jim in my response, so he does have those, and I'll include them on future email chains. But like I said, the only question was the setback of the leaching area to the lake. And I think once they see my rationale behind it, you know, in interest of protecting the lake as much as possible, I think that, you know, they'll agree with, you know, how I have it designed. So, but if we get usually the Board of Health will approve, because the conservation always asks, you know, did the Board of Health approve it? And even in the conservation regulations, it's assumed that, it actually is stated, it's assumed that, you know, under Title V, you know, any system that they see, they're assuming that, you know, the Board of Health, you know, approves it, then, you know, unless they see something really out of whack, that they're, you know, going to approve it.
The only thing that I'd like to see, and if the board agrees, is that they do 3 years of water tests on the well once the septic's in and the new well's up and running. Just to make sure we're covered, that's all.
I agree on that.
And again,
That makes sense.
is that, Mr. Chair, that's the legal maximum we're only allowed to request, correct?
That's from past practice. We've never gone above 3. I don't know if Lionel or Ed have seen it above that, but I haven't in my time on.
Yes, we've done a 5-year where we had to move the tanks and everything within 45 feet. We went to 5 years. Otherwise than that, no.
Lionel,
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever approved under 50 feet from a well.
yes, we did. We did a 40-foot up on Lakeshore Drive.
I think you're referring to the leaching area, because the leaching area is more than 100 feet away. It's the septic tank and the pump chamber. The setback is 50 feet, and we're going down to 25. So when you refer to less than 50 feet, that's the leaching area setback to the well.
Okay. John, what's the, is there like a warranty on this tank before, on the septic tank?
That's a good question. I don't think there is. I mean, the installer's got to warranty it for a year. So, I mean, I do inspections during installation, as does Jim, and you know, those tanks are pretty rugged, so they can take a lot.
I've never seen a monolithic tank fail. They're pretty rugged, especially that big.
They're made to take, I mean, you know, an oil truck or, you know, septic truck or anything that's made to be able to drive right over the top of them and not have any, you know, they're designed for that strength, and they have heavier walls and tops. And I honestly don't think that could ever happen. You know, we see older tanks that, you know, with less strength that are in good condition. These new ones here are just, they're pretty strong.
Mr. Chair, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to accept as approved pending all approval of conservation.
I have a second on that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
And that
vote.
would be, Mr. Chair, for the 3 years, correct?
Yes, sir, for 3 years of water testing on the new well, once the system's in place.
Pending approval of conservation. Excellent.
Yes. Roll call vote. Lionel?
Well, we need a second on the motion.
Lionel seconded it.
Oh, I couldn't hear him. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Lionel,
Yes,
Garrett,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Ed,
Abstain.
the chair votes yes. Good luck, John.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Good night.
Night.
All right. Next up is, well, can we have a quick discussion? Would you guys feel comfortable going back in person to do these meetings rather than Zoom?
As long as we have 6-foot social distancing, yes.
If we do it downstairs in the,
Auditorium.
right, the auditorium, thank you. We will have the 6 feet because that's what the selectmen are doing tonight.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Will we have to adjust any days or times? Because I know our meeting sometimes conflicts with other meetings.
Well, does anybody have an issue if rather, we typically meet on what, the first Monday of the month, correct?
Correct.
Would anybody have an issue if it coincided with the selectmen's meeting, if we had to push to the second here or there? Would that be an issue?
We've had to change our dates numerous times in the last couple of years to accommodate people and their jobs anyway.
I'm fine with it.
I don't personally have a problem. It's up to you guys, but I'd rather do it in person. I think it's a lot easier to look at a paper set of drawings than a computer screen and to have people
Absolutely.
explain it.
Yeah, I can push it to the second Monday of the month if that's what you're suggesting. It's just that since I serve on Finance Committee, if they were to have a meeting for some reason on that date, then I would have a struggle, obviously, to be in both meetings. So just giving you a heads up.
Yeah, so what Jim had put forward is that we, basically us, finance and the Board of Selectmen are all gonna have to work around each other because we can only use the big room.
Yep.
So there shouldn't be any conflict if we all try to make it work, if that makes sense.
Now, are these meetings going to be open to the public to attend for any questions?
Right, so that's the thing is if you go in the big room, don't quote me on it because I don't remember the number allowed, but it's quite a few people and we typically don't see all too many people at our meetings anyways.
No, we don't. I just wanted to cover our bases, Mr. Chair.
Yep, no, if like Mr. DeLine had to come in tonight, that could have happened, you know what I mean? Jim, do you remember how many are allowed upstairs?
Off the top of my head, it goes on square footage, so it's 8 people per 1,000 square feet. And I don't remember the actual measurements of that room, but that's what we would base it on.
I want to say it was like 15 to 18 people, no?
It was around there, yeah.
So I think that covers us.
Yeah.
And I can't recall, Mr. Chair, the last time we had that many people at a Board of Health meeting anyway.
I know in my time I haven't seen it, but.
Well, if we do get it, we can always postpone the meeting.
Right, do you guys want to give it a try next meeting?
I would like to personally.
I
All
would,
right.
Absolutely.
All right,
You
Mr.
guys
Chair?
mind if I check the schedule upstairs to make sure we can get it in, and if there's a date change, I let you guys know?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to know, as we are in that meeting, social distancing, the question for Mr. Abear, even with social distancing in the building, I'm assuming we're expected to wear masks during the meeting with social distancing? As we're inside, I'm just looking for clarification.
We should all still wear masks while we're at that meeting, yes.
Because the longer I wear one, it's a lot harder for me to breathe. So that's why I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Right. True.
I would have to say the same for me.
Do you guys want to stay on this, or do you want to try it in person?
I say let's try it in person in the hall.
Keith, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but once I get over half an hour, I have trouble breathing with my mask on, and it's a little hard for me right now. So I definitely would say try to keep the meetings as short as possible since we're gonna have to wear a mask.
Or request a break.
That's completely understood.
So as long as we have some caveats in there, I say, yeah, let's try it.
Let's give it a
Let's
try.
go for it.
I don't have anything else unless you guys have anything.
Do we need a vote on that, sir?
Jim, what do you think? Yes?
You can do it just to be safe, you know, if you want to do a vote on it and say that, you know, should a conflict arise, we will just go to the second Monday or the third Monday or something like that. I suppose if there's really no way of doing it and we need to have a meeting, we can always revert back to Zoom for one meeting and then continue with in person if we're able.
All right, somebody want to make the motion? You want me to make it? What do you guys want?
I'll take a shot at it.
Can I
I'll take a shot at
interject for a
it.
moment?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So I know we want to meet in person, and I'm all for it, and I agree. But I don't think it'd be a bad idea if we were able to also allow members to call in via Zoom if they need to, if they can't attend for whether it be health reasons such. That way everybody can still attend in that aspect as well, like, and not be just kind of stuck. So if you don't want to be in the building due to any changes coming down the line with any increasing COVID issues in the next coming months, it's always a possibility you could just call in as well.
That's not available as of yet at Town Hall.
All right, so based on Garrett's concern, which is clearly a valid one, how about this? Based on developing Zoom possible necessities for meetings in the future with any future COVID-19 developments, why don't we just make sure that if one person is unable to attend due to COVID developments down the road, then we would go back to Zoom. If everybody is able to attend, then we would go to the town hall. Just seeing if that sounds fair to everybody.
Fine to me.
Absolutely.
That way we're showing we care for everybody's needs.
Absolutely.
Fine to me.
I'm good.
Motion, so we'll count that as a motion if you're okay with that, Keith?
Yeah, let's just clarify it because I'm sure Debbie Dennis, the poor girl's going to be like rewinding this 5 times in her defense. So make a motion to meet in the town hall with dates subject to change as necessary, with social distancing, masks as required, breaks if necessary, at the amount of people per square footage our health agent deems necessary under the current executive emergency declarations. And if we need to go back to Zoom because a person cannot attend or feels they cannot attend due to COVID, the board would immediately refer to go back to Zoom as needed.
I have a second on that.
Good job, Keith. Thank you.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Garrett. Roll call vote. Lionel?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. How about a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Kent. Roll call vote. Lionel?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And chair votes yes at 7:01. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
You too. Thank you.